Hey, this is Mrs. Reichelt, and we just finished up going through different types of muscle movements. So now we're really going to start classifying each type of muscle. So first up here, we're going to go through each of these four really large classifications, and the first one is called a prime mover or an agonist. Um, this is when this is going to be the muscle that has the most responsibility for the certain movement. So it's going to be the primary mover. Then you have the antagonist. The antagonist is going to be the muscle that opposes or reverses the prime mover. So an example of each of these would be if your biceps in your arm is the prime mover, okay, then the antagonist is going to be your triceps. Okay, so it's going to oppose or reverse. So if you're flexing your biceps, then your triceps are going to be extending. Then we have synergist. Synergist is a muscle that aids in a prime mover, and it's a movement that helps to prevent rotation. And then the synergist is going to be a stabilizer. It's going to help to stabilize. And then a fixator also is going to stabilize the origin of a prime mover. So a fixator is really going to be a specialized stabilizer. So it's specialized in stabilize. Um, it's a specialized synergist is really what it is. So it helps to stabilize the origin of a prime mover. So your prime mover or your agonist is going to be the one that's really responsible. The antagonist is going to be opposing. The synergist is going to help make sure that you're not going to rotate around. It helps to stabilize a prime mover. And then the fixator is a specialized synergist, which helps to stabilize the origin of that mover as well. Okay, so when you actually go through to name skeletal muscles, there's a little naming memorization thing that we could use. So it's lad snore. Okay, so here's how we can remember naming some muscles. So lad or L stands for the location. Okay, that's the location of the muscle. The A has to do with the action of the muscle. Okay, the D has to do with direction of the fibers. And I'm going to go through all of these in detail. So right now we're just writing them down. Then S is the shape of the muscle. Then N is the number of origins that the muscle has. The O is the origin and insertion location. And then R has to do with the relative size of the muscle. So let's go through these in detail. So location of the muscle has to do with where it is in a bone or on a surface. Okay, so an example of this would be something like the temporalis. Okay, so the temporalis muscle is going to be near the temporal bone. Okay, the action of the muscle has to do with if it has flexor or adductor in the name, then it's classified or named based on the action. Then we have direction of muscle fibers. Now, we didn't really talk about each of these. They are in your book, but the direction of the muscle fibers has to do with rectus, which means straight, or oblique, which means sideways. And then an example of this one would be something like your oblique muscles, okay, in your stomach. Then the shape of the muscle would be something like the deltoid. The deltoid is a triangle shape. The number of origins are things like bicep, bi meaning 2, tricep meaning 3, quadricep meaning four. Okay, so the number of origins. And then the origin and insertion location. An example of this would be a sterno, meaning sternum, clido, meaning your clavicle, and then mastoid, meaning your mastoid process. Okay, so each of those, their location. And then last one is the relative size. So that's going to be something like maximus, minimus, and longus for each of those. So that really wraps up how we're going to go through and name our muscles, and we're officially moving into memorizing muscles next.